How do you handle conflict in your cross-culture relationship? Like American सोच भी नहीं सकते खाने के ऊपर इतना झगड़ा हो सकता है.
And now I've said I don't want to eat, and he's like, yeah, you know. I was like, no, this is something you need to ask.
You know, किसी ने ज्यादा मुंह पे बोल दिए तो थोड़ा खराब लगा. बेटी को कहीं जाने मत देना और बेटी को बात करने मत देना किसी लड़के से. Had totally changed their outfit and their jewelry and all this stuff, right? You're like, they physically look different.
Oh, I have something, but it's funny.
सबको नमस्ते, मैं जेसिका हूँ और आज मेरे साथ गुंजन जी. I have with me today Gunjan, Saini, Bradshaw, Goof Woman on Instagram.
Thank you, Jessica. So excited to be here. Very grateful to talk to you and everybody.
And we're going to discuss the top 3 questions that we get. Gunjan being a North Indian, being married to an American, and me being an American, married to a North Indian. So let's dive in. So question number 1, how difficult was it for you to get the acceptance of your American sasural?
I think I went very underprepared because I think for America, you think, oh, they're progressive and there's going to be no issues, no problems. I think that was the case with my parents. But when I went there, of course, there were some challenges because he comes from a Mormon family and he comes from Utah, and people who don't know that don't understand the cultural context of it because they come from big families, and so of course their culture is very, very close-knit, and having somebody from outside and accepting somebody from India, especially from a media field, somebody who's been on their own, is quite of a cultural clash that I didn't see coming in. So yeah, it was quite a bit of getting together, but now they love me and very, very grateful to be in their family. So
Yeah. For me, I think I had a totally different situation where, like, being an American who lived in India before getting married to an Indian, I actually knew a lot what I was getting into, like how traditional the family was and how different my background was. So I had to do a lot of adjusting even before we got married to, like, okay, seeing the process of, kaise bahu banna hai. Like, I saw a lot of my friends who had gone from their independent life to then being a bahu, and just even they had totally changed their outfit and their jewelry and all this stuff, right? You're like, they physically look different. And so I knew kind of what to expect as far as what it meant to present yourself in a different way, your attitude, your speech, your behaviors. So for me, it wasn't a huge shock. And because I was ready for those things, I think, my husband's family was more ready to accept me because I had already done some background work, if that made sense. Number 2, how do you handle conflict in your cross-culture relationship?
Conflict was very interesting. I remember talking about this incident, once we were in Mumbai and planning to go to Agra, and I was talking to my family, and we were in this big animated conversation about like chole banenge, rajma banenge, and raat ko dal nahi, paneer nahi, make it easy, make it light, how will we eat so much food? So we're going on like talking about stuff, and I put the phone down, and John comes and he's like, it's okay if we don't have to go, if they're fighting with you and if it's such a big thing and everybody's upset. And I said, who's upset? They're talking about what we will eat. We're discussing the menu. While we're there, we want to make sure you get to eat everything. And that's the big point of contention. So, and he was like, no, you're definitely, hiding something from me. And I was like, no, I'm not hiding. We're passionate people. We're Punjabis. This is how we talk. So can you imagine if my talking of the menu stressed him out so much? How does conflict stress him out? It stresses him out a lot because, of course, I'm the Punjabi and I'm like animated and I'm big and I'm like, let's talk about it. I want to talk about what I feel it's wrong. And he wants space to think about it. You could have said it differently, or, can we... And I was like, yeah, but like, you don't know how to fight. Let's fight. Let's take it out and get over with it in 5 minutes and then go... and then I'll ask you what you want for dinner, and you'll be like, whatever you want, and like, let's get to the next part. But he takes forever. As an American, the fights with him have to be at a different pace, which as a Punjabi, I have.
Yeah, and like, Americans सोच भी नहीं सकते खाने के ऊपर इतना झगड़ा हो सकता है. Like, we don't think about, like, what do you want to eat? This? Okay, fine. You're done.
Yeah. I mean, like, jhagda nahi ho raha hai.
I always say...
passion. It's passion. Like, if Papa is saying chole banenge and Mama is saying ki nahi, rajma is better, then, we have to get into the nitty-gritties of it. And that's what they don't understand.
And I always say, like, that Indians are the original foodies. Like food is a love language in India. That it is nowhere else. I swear. This is like, do not mess with an Indian and their food.
Yes,
I tell you.
I would so agree.
Like for I think one thing we talked about in our longer episode, which is on my website and on the full audio version, is that what does it mean for an Indian versus American? Like, yes is yes and no is no. Like in India, if you get in an argument with somebody, you don't just go back and be like, oh, I'm sorry, I was rude to you. Like, you'll like bring them, some chai or you'll bring them some fruit, and that's your like apology. Whereas in the West, we're like, hey, I messed up, like, I'm sorry. And then you move on, right? That in India, there's so many like indirect kind of things, and किसी ने ज्यादा मुंह पे बोल दिए तो वो थोड़ा खराब लगा. So like, do you have these situations which happen between the two of you?
So many times. I think I was telling you the same thing on our longer episode, like you mentioned. For us, like if somebody calls you for meal time and they're like, oh, let's have food, but the other person says, no, I'm not interested or I'm not that hungry. In India, it means something is wrong. They're upset. Like, come talk to me. This is the time to coddle me. This is the time to like. But in US, they're like, sure. And then he'll move on. He'll go like, okay, you're not hungry. It's okay. I'll go get something. And then he'll go get something for himself while I'll be sitting fuming that he's not even realizing that I'm angry. See, already men are not very good at reading non-verbal cues, right? They can't tell if you're like crying in the corner or you're upset about something or you're fuming. They're like, yeah, whatever, she'll tell me if she is. And now I've said I don't want to eat. And he's like, yeah, I was like, no, this is something you need to ask. Why don't you want to eat? What are you upset about?
True.
Did something happen? So I feel like that's the thing, but now I don't anymore. So I've learned my lesson. If I don't want to be hungry, I just got to separate food from emotion.
It's so classic. I love it. So this is the last question. How do you tolerate things from American culture, from your husband's culture, which you may not agree with?
I'm trying to think, what do I not agree with? Oh, I have something, but it's funny. So it's not that I don't agree with, but I was very surprised with it. So we were newly married. So of course we would get like all these dinner invites and we would go, or like there would birthday parties at home, and they would call us like at 5 p.m. for dinner or something. And we would go to these parties, like we're like looking forward to them for weeks now. And it's on the calendar, you go there and they get over at 6 or 6:30, and then you help clean up. And then maybe you sit around and play a game or you like help clean up, and then you walk out of the door by 7:30 at max. And I was like, interesting. Like, now what do you do for the rest of the night? Like, I had this Sunday evening planned for this, and now this is over. And then I didn't realize it wasn't normal, because then I think a year or two later, I was started getting connected to the Indian community, and they called us for a Diwali party. And this Diwali party was just a bunch of anonymous people, acquaintances that we were meeting for the first time. So they called us for brunch. They were like, come at 11, 12, potluck, everybody gets their food. So I'm like, sure, I have on the calendar put like 2-3 hours on it. We go there. They start with coffee, drinks, what do you want, Then we get to lunch. Now the time's already 3 p.m. Lunch happened. Of course, then there has to be chai and coffee the next round, because now you need to digest what you've eaten, which all feels very normal. But now we are 4 hours into this. So now people are starting to get hungry. So then whatever is left over from the potluck, that starts getting reopened, and people are now playing games and eating the second part of the potluck. Okay, it's 5 p.m. Then we've eaten, cleaned up, it's 6 or 7. Another round of drinks are going on, coffee, chai, whoever wants nimbu pani. People are taking a walk, taking pictures, showing the house. Now there are deeper conversations about life, career, and packages. Now we've gotten to the next level. Now it's 9 p.m. and my husband's looking at me from across the room and he's like, we came here at 12 noon. And when are we going? And I'm like, actually, this is how it's supposed to be. In India, if you go to somebody's house, there's no time to exit. And this is how it should be. So I'm like, we stayed. So at 10 p.m., he was like, oh, and then he offered. He was like, should I just bring pizza for everybody? And we thought everybody would say, no, let's go home. And they're like, yeah, we'll also come with you. We'll get pizza. So he's offered, but in his head, he's like, what is going on? So they go get pizza for everybody. Now it's midnight. 12. But parties in India start at midnight. So everybody is starting with
Ah,
new round of drinks and new round of pizza getting digested.
wait, though.
And I think at 1 a.m., I was like, I think my husband needs to go to bed. It has been 12 hours of socializing and it's a lot for an American, so we're going to head out. But either way, he's very good at adjusting and he's very good at like getting along with Indians. So I think he enjoys the big parties. He enjoys people who stay longer than their time. But that for me was a big culture shock. And I was like, oh yeah, like on the Indian side, you do have these long parties that go on. And if they call you for dinner, of course, there is like chai and dessert and everything after that.
Yeah.
And there's no like time to end the party. That only happens in
Right.
America, I guess.
Right. It's not so like prescripted. Like time isn't prescription. Relationship. One of the things in like sociology, which they talk about, is that India would fall under like an event-oriented culture, and U.S. and other Western countries are a time-oriented culture. So this is just a perfect example of that. Like the event can be as long as we want it to be. Everyone's enjoying and having a good time. Everyone's had nothing went wrong. Then let's keep it going.
Yeah.
Whereas the Westerners would be more like, well, we said that, we were going to do from like 3 to 6 and everybody needs to be gone by 6 because, my toddler needs to go to sleep or I have a meeting or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I love the scheduling part of it. Like, I like how people like to stick to their schedules. But I think the fun's gone, right? Like, what now? Like in India, people will finish dinners or finish their 6 hours of hanging out with their friend and be like, what now? Should we just grab dinner now? Should we just like start the night again? Like the whole impromptu.
Spontaneity. For an American to learn spontaneity, I think personalities can be different, but it can be really hard. Yeah. So, and for an American, sometimes spontaneity isn't fun. Like, oh, it's dragging on. This isn't fun at all. Like, it would be fun if we finished on time, So it's like different definitions of fun.
Yeah. So crazy.
Yeah. I think for me, like, how do I react to something which I don't agree with? I think that for me, obviously, there's a thing where I have a daughter. I have a son and a daughter. And our son and daughter, they get very different treatment in India. And I think that that's something that in a sense, like I don't quote unquote agree with, but you have to just adjust to the culture that you're in. So I'm not going to like demand and force that like, no, like my daughter should be able to go out late. My daughter should be able to, go with a bunch of boys somewhere. I mean, we're not at that point yet. She's very young, but I'm thinking to myself as these things come up, I wish that I would just let my daughter do everything that my son does, but in this culture, I have to adjust. I have to, think about how can I set her up for safety? How can I help her know what are the safe things to do and what are the not safe things? Whereas in a lot of Indian families, they're like, नहीं बेटी को कहीं जाने मत देना और बेटी को बात करने मत देना किसी लड़के से, So that's one extreme form. But then also you have to realize that girls are not as, it might be more dangerous for a girl to go somewhere than a boy. Like that's something which I disagree with, but I'm trying to adjust myself, even though it's hard for me, if that makes sense, of the treatment between boys and girls or the safety standards between boys and girls. So I know we're going to hit that at some point where, okay, my daughter wants to go somewhere. Well, you let Baya go. Why can't I go? Well, it's a little different, right? Because Baya is this. And one of the things is my son has a lot more Indian features and my daughter looks a little more like me. So like people will see her and they're like, विदेशी है क्या? है ना? और मेरे बेटे को पता नहीं चलता कि इसकी माँ विदेशी है. तो ये problem होता है, but I think that was one of the main things that I struggle with at this point. There have been many things through my journey of 15 years of marriage, but I think this is one where I'm facing now, which is a little challenging.
Yeah, I can totally see that. I think Americans have a very different way of raising their daughters, and but you can't really fight it because I think daughters are also not as unsafe anywhere else than in India, and that's just something you have to accept.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, these are the top 3 questions. I have many, many more that we could discuss. We did discuss several of them in the audio version of the India with Jessica podcast, which is on all streaming platforms. Thanks for watching this YouTube video. And again, thanks Gunjan for joining. And बहुत अच्छा लगा आपसे बात करके आपके बारे में थोड़ा बहुत सीखें. And make sure to check out Goof Woman on Instagram and all over the internet. Thanks.
Thank you.